This episode of The Coach and the Casual, we have Zack Partridge coming off his transition from amateur to pro debut. We're going to talk all things fierce and just get his insight on what it's like to change from an amateur fighter to a pro.
Hell yeah. Well, this is our first ever repeat guest. I'll tell you, I had to fight hard for you. Ramsey was like, nah, I don't want to.
I was out, bro. I didn't want you in, dude. He did.
But you, I mean, the first thing we should talk about, honestly, is you just had a fight this past weekend down in St. George. Talk to us about the fight.
Yeah, it was my pro debut. I don't know. Like, Ramsey knows. There's a lot of emotions when you lose a fight.
Never happened to me.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah. And especially when you lose a fight that you felt like you won, but it went to the judges' scorecards. And it was one of those things at the end of the fight, like, I feel like I know MMA pretty well, and I kind of knew, like, I lost the first round, and I knew, I had to get the second and had to get the third, and I really felt like I did enough. And when I heard, all three judges' scorecards, 29-28, like, I was like, I won. Perfect, And then the other guy's hand gets raised, and it's like, wait, what? And it was just, I don't know, it's just processing and everything. I've rewatched the fight a couple times. Still really feel like I won. Yeah. I feel like I was really with it the whole time. I did the right things. I don't really know how you lose fights when you're winning when it's on the feet, and on the ground you're on top, and he's not really doing anything. So it was it was just weird.
I've been there. Like, I've lost big fights, which I thought I won. And honestly, I've lost fights that are still considered the worst decision in,
ever.
In the history of the UFC. Kyle doesn't know.
I actually supported that decision.
Yeah, Casual doesn't know. He's actually never seen me fight other than, like, the Tony Ferguson knockout.
I see. Okay,
you ever watched him knock out Benny Dariush?
That's not true.
No, he never has.
I watch Ramsey fight all the time to properly pronounce words.
Yeah. And you stop me from fighting other people all the time out and about. But, like, when you lose that, I mean, I lost my freaking job. Like, when I lost one of those bullshit decisions, I got cut from the UFC. I mean, it hurts, bro. Like, it sucks. But I remember not even that. It's just like, it feels like, I don't know, like someone took something from you, maybe.
And the weird part with my role with Fierce is I have a pretty good relationship with the refs and judges with the Utah State Athletic Commission. So, like, I've already reached out to one of the judges that was on it, and I was like, can we talk about it? Like, I've rewatched it, like,
what do they say?
I want to know. So they're actually going to rewatch it, and then we're going to all hop on a Zoom call with all of them, and they're, like, open to having the conversation.
See, that's why Utah's really the best commission.
Yeah, which is
because after
really
mine,
cool.
I tried to call the commission. They wouldn't answer my phone calls. They wouldn't call me back.
Yeah.
It was Chicago, and it was just
and I respect it so much that I just appreciate they're willing to have the time, and, like, they're going to rewatch it. We're going to hop on a Zoom call, kind of go through it together, and they're going to tell me what they saw. And I mean, like, it's not going to change anything, right?
Yeah, it doesn't change.
And here's the other thing, and I said this in my post.
You can't change it.
Right. I do this, like, it's purely hobby for me. Like, it's not like UFC, like, you lost your job over it. I kind of laughed with my wife. We were back at our Airbnb, and I just said, what's kind of wild to me is just how insignificant this is for me too.
Yeah.
Like, I go back to the Airbnb. I got my 3-year-old and 1-year-old, like, climbing on me. My 8-year-old went, and he didn't even care about the fight. He brought his Nintendo Switch to the fights.
Yeah,
he wants to show me his game. My 12-year-old was like, he's the one that gets really into it. But, like, I always tell him too, like, win like a man, lose like a man. Like, you don't make excuses. I have an example to set for my 4 kids. And so it's like, I went right back into being a dad.
Yeah.
My wife was incredibly supportive and loving, but it's like, I have a wife. We have to get up the next morning. We got to pack up. Like, we got to do, like, life goes on, and it's just like,
but that's the difference, though. Yeah.
But it's like such an insignificant thing. It's just like, oh well, like life goes on.
But so, like, I know it's insignificant in your life because you have other jobs and hobbies. And, like, if you were, you're a little bit older, so you're like, you're a lot more realistic.
I'm not chasing a UFC pipe dream that's never going to happen.
Exactly. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where that's a big, I think, difference is where, like, if you're in it, or if, even, like, which we can lay way into, talking about the fierce, what's his name? Kent losing. Yeah. And Kent was an undefeated pro. Yeah. He lost his. That's a lot bigger of a, I feel like, a loss than, you know, someone that's like, hey, shit, this is fun, man. I just want to do it.
Well, then let me ask, what is the motivation? I have zero motivation to go out and fight, professionally or amateur. Just because I don't want to catch a charge for manslaughter.
Yeah.
But what's the
because that gaping hole between your legs, that's why. That axe wound just bleeds everywhere, and you can't fight worth shit.
What's the impetus? Why want to go pro as opposed to just staying amateur? What were some of the driving forces in you wanting to go do that? Aside from the fact that you help run an organization and it gives you some extra credibility.
Like, I want to challenge myself. Like, I feel like I reached that point in amateur fights too. Like, I was 5-2-1 as an amateur. I got an amateur title. It was like, what's the next challenge? Like, keep fighting as amateur. Like, I'm going to fight guys that are more advanced anyways. Like, I might as well make a little bit of money doing it. Like, it's not a lot, but like, it's not motivation. It's the challenge. And like, what kind of challenges? This guy, he had 11 amateur fights. He'd fought for multiple titles. He fought for the Fierce Amateur 185 title on my show. Was his last fight, you know?
You can't fight on your own show, so you have to fight on another show.
So he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He just got his black belt in jiu-jitsu. I just got a purple belt. I was like,
which in my opinion, I mean, it was a little early, but it's okay.
It's fair. It's fair. Ramsey rolled with me. It's fair. He mopped me. No, but you know, it was like I just want to challenge myself, and like I felt like it was a winnable fight. I still feel like I won the fight. But like, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. We spent a lot of the fight on the ground. I took him down all 3 rounds, and he got one, like in the first round. One of the things that I think won him the first round is he got a really deep Darce choke on me that, like, the announcers were saying, "Oh, this is going to be over," and I got out of it. And it's like, you know, that was a thing to build on for myself, but.
What would you have done better now in retrospect? Would you give him the old dick twist?
Yeah,
or
for
like,
sure.
What about like even prep? Like looking back, do you feel like you could have changed things?
Yeah, well, and I talked about it. Again, there's no excuses in it, and I had a really good camp. I was healthy, everything was good.
Like one thing too, like here's I coach obviously wrestling, and wrestling is a very high intense sport, and a lot of kids want to wrestle to the refs, you know what I mean? And they get mad when they don't get calls and this. And I always have to tell the kids the same thing. It's like the old Dana White, don't leave in the hands of the judges. But in reality, I'm like, you can't wrestle to the refs. You can't fight to the judges like, oh, I better get a takedown to win this round, because you never know what they're scoring. That's what's kind of hard about it. Or it like kind of distracts you, I think, a little bit, you know?
One thing he did really well is he tied up my arms. So I kept getting in the dominant position, tied up my arms really well, and controlled my posture really well, to the point where like I couldn't really posture to like do elbows like I should. I got a couple good ones in there, but like he never really let me like posture up and like comfortably like start settling into some ground and pound.
Yeah.
So I definitely need to work on being able to get into better positions where I can get in a dominant position and like be able to posture and do damage. I should have been able to do more damage in the positions that
and scored the points.
Yeah.
And see, that's where it's like hard.
Or stop the fight.
And even with myself, I always complain about my one really bad decision, but then I was like, I should have done more. I could have, like, I was in dominant positions the whole time, but even just like going for the finish, making it, I don't know. It's like, as a coach, as the athlete, I'd be like, oh, these goddamn judges and refs. But now as a coach, I'm like, it's a factor that's always going to be there, no matter what. We can't take out bad judging calls. You can't take out bad refs. You can't take those out. I mean, yeah, there are better judges and better refs, but they're still going to make mistakes.
I won't even say it was bad judging. It's just like difference of opinion. It's all subjective.
Because a close fight,
they don't realize like to them, maybe they don't realize like that overhook. Like I couldn't get my arm up to like posture, right? Like
and maybe he's like, oh, his jiu-jitsu's controlling the posture, and there's a point for that, and that's what's hard. It's so like I don't know, subjective. Yeah.
If I was a judge, all of my decisions would be able to pay it off. I have zero integrity.
So you might work for, I don't want to name any organizations, but maybe a couple
$500 per decision. I'll pick whatever you want.
Yeah, you're a boxing judge.
But
maybe an Asian MMA judge. I don't know.
I mean, I'm pretty like
a Russian judge.
Russian. Right? I'm pretty realistic with it. Like, I reffed high school sports. Like, I know how hard it is to like be that person that's making those calls.
Yeah.
So I try and give them some leniency. I don't feel like I got robbed. I don't feel like I got screwed. I don't feel like they did a horrible job. I just felt like I won.
Yeah, and it's a close fight. And I'm glad you say that because everyone nowadays, the close fight, they're like, it was a fucking robbery, you know? And you're like, dude, there's close fights. And sometimes you got to make.
Done more. Like at the end of the day, it's on me to stop the fight or done more. Like if I would have busted him up all that time on top, like I would have got my hand raised.
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
but you know, and that's why I respect you. So when you get these other kids that fight on your shows, or you know, young adults, and they're like, oh, "I got screwed by a judge," you'd be like, "I've been there too, bro. You got to do more." And they're like, "Well, it's easy to say that." You're like, "I've been in that same boat," and that's what they say to me, like, "Oh, well, you know, it's easy to, you know, like for when I'm coaching the wrestling, I'm like." You know how many bad calls have screwed me out of state tournaments? Yeah, like in wrestling, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like one kid got screwed with a bad call out of state, and I'm like, yeah, that sucks, but then why is the match that close where 1 point scores it?
Should there be, you know, there's a lot of talk in the NFL about, you know, why are we still having two guys with sticks do the 10 yards and measuring it up and things? So there's a lot of talk about putting technology in the ball so it knows when it crosses the plane, all those things.
Dude, that would be smart.
Is there any talk in MMA about more technology being able to decide things? Or
the human element's just always going to be there, man. Like it just is.
It's impossible.
And it's part of it. So, and this is to my other point too. I have a good relationship with these judges, like enough that I can message them on Facebook. We're Facebook friends or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And I can reach out to them and they're responsive. And they know me well enough to know, like, I'm not doing this to, like, go after them or whatever. I just want to have a conversation to understand. But in the very next breath, I'm going to say this. I think that because of our relationship, and they have, like, the utmost integrity, and I really like our athletic commission, that they go, okay, it's Zack in there. I can't be biased. I like Zack, but I can't be biased. Well, that and right there creates a bias the other way.
Yeah.
And I think that because I've actually had two decisions now. I had my last fight at Steel Fist was a draw. And they gave a guy a 10-8 round that I don't think was a 10-8 round.
Yeah, and like the same thing.
Like every time the call's been close, I felt like it's kind of gone against me. And I think it's because of the position that I'm in that they want to make sure that they're not favoring in my way. And so like... And I mean, I think that's respectful. And again, that's me putting myself in the position that I'm in with my other roles.
Yeah.
And if I have to live with that, like, so be it. I have a lot of respect for them. I think they're good judges. I think we have good refs. Like, we have a fantastic athletic commission.
Yeah, we do. The state of Utah.
We're grateful.
Even the UFC always talks about it. That's another reason.
Scott's the man.
Yeah, Scott Bowler is a really good. He was my promoter, though.
Yeah.
You know that, right? Yeah.
Well, let's talk. Let's just jump straight in, with all those. Let's just jump straight into that last fierce. I was out of country. I wanted to be there for it. We were going to call.
I know we were going to call the main event. No, we made it. Yeah, we were. Yeah, we made a deal with Cody. Dude.
I know Cody said that.
Yeah. Hey, who's the boss? Cody's the boss. All right. Yeah. But Cody, I'm gonna cut that up and send it to him so that he.
You can. We had that conversation.
Yeah, you guys can fight about it.
Deal. But anyway, we were going to call it. That's a fact.
Yeah.
But we told Cody. He said, "Listen, man, it's us or Partridge."
Yeah.
You guys can call it.
No, I said Ramsey can go on. I said Ramsey can go on and call the fight.
There'd be no
Kyle can't get on the
better
mic.
Color commentary than me.
Yeah, we need him on.
We don't need anybody on the commentary. Just going,
ow.
You just want me rooting for the other guy.
Stand him up.
Yeah, stand him up. It's like, dude, he's in a submission. Stand him up.
This is boring.
He's choking.
But that one, I mean, the big thing is that, and you say this a lot, is that it's 801 versus everyone, right? But this last Fierce card, everyone did a little better than 801. It was a rough card. It was a rough card for Utah.
Okay, well,
Joel
Haro looked phenomenal. Andrew Mickelson was dominant.
Okay, but the reigning champ.
That was a given fight for Andrew.
Even Ramsey had to take some bitter ones in there with Talon, who's
I took a bitter loss. But Talon, he lost to another 801 guy, though.
Yeah, he did.
But we picked our 801 over there.
But Ammon's my 801.
Yeah, Ammon's his boy.
Ammon's 108.
Yeah, he's my training partner. He's a savage. Ammon's a savage. So's Talon, though. That was a good fight. That was one of the best fights, of the night.
Yeah, no, it was. That was a great fight. It was
such a good fight.
And honestly, those two young kids, you're just like,
they're both
when you see those two amateurs fight like that, you're like, well, these kids have a bright future. That'd be fun.
What's Talon been like after the loss? Is his first loss?
Starving, bro. He's like in the gym. Wait. He's just pissed. I told him.
We're gonna talk a little business after this about Talon.
Yeah, and I told him one of the things is he's got to move down to 45, and he was really mad about it. He didn't like to hear it, and I was like, bro, Ammon cuts weight. And it's whatever you want to call it, the prisoner dilemma. You can't compete with somebody without cutting weight. It's just not possible. Size matters so much in fighting. Yeah, it doesn't matter how many times your wife tells you size matters.
That's why I do so well, though.
Yeah, size matters.
Big boy.
Yeah. That's what she tells you, but that's not true, you know.
I mean, there was a moment in that fight when Ammon kind of just like chucked Talon.
Yes.
And it was like, that's what 55 versus a 45
45,
like.
yeah. And I can do that to 45ers.
Yeah.
I can just chuck them around, you know.
Dog, dude. Like,
yeah, dude, dog.
So, I mean.
At 45, though, he's sleeping motherfuckers, dude. Everyone he touches, he can put him to sleep.
You said it. At 45, he's a champion. And like, dude, he's like. And at amateur, that's where you gain the experience, right? And you know this, like it's where you gain the experience. I told him, I'm like, there's no reason why he shouldn't be competing for 155 and 145
right now
amateur titles.
Yeah,
you know,
just getting all the experience.
It's just getting that experience, and it's like he faced a dude with way more experience than him.
Yeah, like triple the fights.
And Ammon's like a real 55er.
That cuts and sucks weight.
Yeah, like it's not a fun cut to 55 for him.
Yeah, and he was big that night. He looks like he walks in at 175.
And Talon, you know, and like you said, but
you know, like for a lot of people that watch this, they don't really understand that part as much, and we talk about it. But like for, you know, like someone will explain to the casual.
I'm confused here too, because you're saying that size now does matter, when in reality I've said, well, I'm bigger so I can whip ass, and you said no, size doesn't matter that much. So can we get an official ruling on size mattering or not?
Size matters only when technique is even. So like two professional fighters where technique is pretty even, then the next difference is size, I would say. Or, you know, you can have speed, but speed doesn't really matter as much as in MMA because of the grappling. If it was boxing, then you're like, oh, speed is really important. You know what I mean? But like, since we can wrestle, size actually matters a lot. And Talon, he woke up that morning at 158, 159. So he gets in a sauna. Ammon probably the night before was 165, 172, I would bet. Probably 172, right? And then
You're
he
in
gets
the right range.
Yeah, and that's where I would be. And then I sit in the sauna for the night before. You stop all your water intake, you stop all your food, and I was sitting in a hot bath for about 20 minutes with Epsom salt in. And you sit there.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
Epstein didn't kill himself. Yeah, Epsom salt. He's still alive, probably, to be honest. We don't want to get into that, but he's alive, probably on another island doing the same thing. But Epsom salt in the bath, and you sit there for like 20 minutes, and then I would get out, and you get in a sauna suit, like a plastic, you know, and I wrap myself for another 20 minutes. And that's called a bath. Like when you ever hear someone say, oh, I couldn't take another bath. A bath consists of sitting in the sauna, sitting in your sweatsuit. And so I'm sure Ammon, the night before, takes 2 to 3 baths, loses probably 5 to 6 pounds his first bath, 3 to 4 his second. So he's probably going to bed at 168, probably 165.
Maybe a little lighter than that.
Maybe a little lighter. So maybe does 3 baths the night before. So then he's like 163, wakes up the morning of the weigh-ins early, probably. Well, you do late weigh-ins. Mm-hmm. So then he starts doing the bath, and then once the bath stops working, then you have to move over to saunas and stuff like that. Take out no food. I would eat only eggs in the morning because it only weighs 2 ounces, because you're not worried about like food at that point. You're just worried about ounce intake. So I'm sure Ammon cut a bunch of weight, drinks 3 to 4 ounces of green juice or water or something. You go to bed, you wake up. I drink coffee, so I'd have like a double espresso to help me shit. Have my double espresso or caffeine pills would be another thing. Jump in that sauna until you're on weight.
I mean, let's put it this way. Like, for my fight this last weekend, I was 191 pounds 24 hours before weigh-ins.
Cutting weight to what?
170.
Yeah.
I got it, so I've never had to cut
And that's normal. That's not
normal. Like, that's not like a outrageously... I mean, I'm water loaded and I'm... okay, but it's like...
And by water loaded, you're drinking 2 gallons leading up to it. And then as the weigh-in gets closer, you cut that 2 gallons to 1.5 gallons, 1 gallon, half a gallon, all the way to the day of before, which would be like, 10 to 20 ounces of water.
But here's my point: is I've never had to cut weight before.
I can't tell.
Yeah, I never did wrestling.
Really,
I played a man sport, football, where you want to be bigger, right?
Yeah.
No weight cuts, nothing. And so I hear guys, fighters especially, complain about weight cutting all the time. It can't be that bad. I mean, genuinely. I mean, 15 pounds. It's like you just said it exactly. A couple of baths. Dude. Oh, and I have to eat some eggs.
Ramsey.
Oh no!
How much
Ramsey,
do you want to bet? You couldn't cut 15 pounds right now.
15 pounds? I could cut 15 pounds. I wouldn't because I don't.
In a 24-hour period.
You guys are racing. Who can get smaller? I bet I can get smaller than you, bro.
Yeah.
Oh no, I bet I can get smaller than you, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy until you get ragdolled by some Nagamanaganoff that's cut from 250 pounds, and you're like getting pit up. And you're God damn it.
Can we just
This is why he's not allowed on the Fierce Mic.
Can we just get an official, like, one time, like, okay, sometimes weight cuts are overblown dramatically. They're not that bad.
No. Nothing is worse than a weight cut. Honestly,
that is the phrase, you don't know what you don't know.
That's honestly number one reason for my retirement. I'm like,
for sure.
I'm a tweener. I'm in between two weight classes, so I either have to bulk up and be small or cut a shit ton of weight, and I hated it.
You needed that 165 in your life, huh?
No, not anymore, but I did need it.
You did. You needed that in your life.
Not anymore.
That
How old are you?
I'm 35.
You said that was the main reason for your retirement, Ramsey?
One of the big reasons. I just done cutting. I went up to 70. And
I thought it was all the ass whippings, but
yeah.
Okay, so then we okay, back on that Fierce card. Not before Kent, the other Pauly guy,
Zeke.
That's 2 in a row for him. Talk about that Zeke fight.
I mean, he was doing better.
And what's his record now? 3-4.
He's 3-3.
I didn't watch
He's
the fight.
3-3, and he could easily be 6-0. That's the crazy thing.
That's what's crazy. His last 2 fights, it was literally the same thing.
I watched the last fight and he blew his wad too early. He was. I thought the ref was going to call it on.
Bro,
he should have.
To the T, the exact same thing happened.
112 to 2 were the strike differential.
In this last one?
No, in the first round of 2 fights ago against Cam.
Bro, this one was probably not too far off.
No, it wasn't.
It
Ruben
was probably like 50
different.
or 60 just because Zeke learned. He's like, maybe I should slow down.
I mean, to be respectful, like I know a little bit more because like I'm sitting next to his corners and listening and kind of watching, and there was a difference, and Zeke showed some improvements there, but like physically, like he has everything, right? He's got the power, he's got the speed, he's an athletic, he hits hard, he does all those things. He's just fighting, but like fighting, it's like there's so much more to it. Like,
no, I don't know. Going on I never lost on a local circuit.
Yeah.
So.
Fair. But it's like whatever's going on in like your real life or like personal life or going on in your head, and like everybody has like different struggles. Like he's just got to put it together. And I think when he does, and I believe he will, like,
how old is he?
He could go on a huge run. He's 30. He's only 32, 31, 32.
Not bad for a
heavyweight.
For a
heavyweight, he could. Dude, that's the crazy thing. He's 6-0. He's probably already could sit and wait for the Dana White Contender Series this summer if he was 32, 6-0.
I know.
As a heavyweight.
Or even those last 2 fights, he should really be 5-1. You know,
he easily could be 5-1, 6-0 right now. But you know, it just is what it is, and like I love Zeke.
So 2 fights ago, what was the name of that guy who just came out in some compression shorts?
Cam Chisholm.
Chisholm. He came out to. He came out to the Lion King, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He's come out to Moana, Lion King.
Yeah, that's insane. And I thought he just kept punting him. And then second round, I knew Zeke was screwed because they came around, they just dapped each other up. Like, oh, this is going to be a rough one.
Yeah.
And even still, he still tried with the spinning back fist against Chisholm on that second round. But then it was over, and he was getting kicked.
Yeah, I mean, Zeke's, it's fine. Like, dude, it just is what it is. Everybody, like MMA, everybody's on their own journey. Like, he's doing his thing, and he's
how do you fix, like, if you're a coach, what do you tell him, like, oh, stop blowing your load when they go down, or what?
I mean, he's the coach. From my outside perspective, I don't even think it's a physical thing as much as it's up here. If I was him, and when I see fighters go through stuff like that, I'm like, go see a sports psychologist. Like, figure out your mental.
What's short circuiting you right when you should be winning?
What's going on? You know, it's kind of interesting about that. I don't know if we talked about the sports psychology at all ever. Have we?
like Chael and stuff?
With Chael. But, like, you know, I've gone to sports psychologists a bunch and went to, like, world renowned, this one, this, that. Because I was always the same thing. Like, I was, you know, this monster in the room. And I'd do well in the UFC, but then I'd lose, like, these fights that I thought I should win. But one of the things I realized, I was going to the sports psychologist, and he's like, starts talking about this and this and this, and everything came down to my childhood, dude, and that's all it is. Well, so like everyone out there thinks they need a sports psychologist. They just need to go to a childhood therapist, because most of the time it's all just that. Like whatever your like problem is, like he's probably got something to do with some what's it called, like syndrome, like imposter syndrome, because every time he's winning the fight, he finds a way to lose, you know what I mean? And you could go in, and it's the same way as like someone in business. So I don't know, I think it's funny when people say a sports psychologist, because what you really too, and the other thing is too, like, you're going to get fucking better from sitting there and talking about your problems with some fucking nerd doctor? No way. You got to go out and do shit. He's got to be put into bad situations over and over again. He's got to be trained hard. He's got to be training with a team that doesn't allow him to ever win. So he's always in bad situations, losing. And that's the problem. Heavyweights just want to go out.
The big thing for Ramsey on the sports psychologist, he had a bad touch uncle, so it was.
Yeah.
They kind of pulled that out.
That was between us.
No, but maybe not. Shouldn't say a sports psychologist.
But you know
somebody
what, though?
that knows you and knows what you need.
What?
So you just need somebody that knows you and knows what you need. To your point, like you said, a team that keeps putting you in bad spots, doesn't let you win in the room, whatever. Like for me, it was Jordan Smith.
Yeah,
like he's
a good looking dude.
Gym.
Yeah,
you know Jordan from the Showdown days. Like he's a guy that like I feel like a local legend that doesn't get enough love, but like. He was a killer. Dude, like we went through some things. I went through my own like little rough spot, and like he just sat me down and like, you know, like he got me, and he got me in a place. And like I used to be a guy that I used to dump my load. I'd gas out, and like I couldn't feel my legs. I just did like my pro debut. I just did 15 minutes, which anybody who said that, it sucks. Like it's not fun, but like.
But then once you learn
how to do that,
I can do 15 minutes like that now. But I remember my first time in a 15-minute fight, I literally had an equivalent to what's it called, a stroke, because my heart rate was so high. Yeah. Like what Talon was going through, you know, I had to do the same thing, like because you're just so exhausted. But you know, and it's like. I don't know, like, you're going to go sit down and talk about you just identify your problem, what it is, go to a fucking therapist and realize, I got imposter syndrome because I was, beaten by my dad or raped by my uncle or whatever.
To Zach's point, though, we just had that thing this last weekend with Ortega. Where he got on the mic afterwards, was like, how are you doing as a person? He's like, wow, it's really interesting you say that. And he talked about a lot of the things that he's going through personally.
Yeah, and a lot of people, and fighters are crazy people, man. We're not into fighting because we're like sane human beings. We're literally, I don't know, and it's just like wild. But here's the thing, though, fighting, if he keeps on fighting, he'll find out why he does that. Yeah. But then might make him not want to fight anymore. Like myself, like I found out why I was in imposter syndrome, and then it was like, no, I'm done with this. It's kind of a crazy idea.
The other thing is like, I don't, Zeke lost, Kent lost, all these people, and like people want to talk about that, and it's like, it's easy to like look at the guys when they're like kind of, on that low too. But like for me, is like what stuck out to you. I'm like, Joel Haro looked phenomenal in his comeback fight. Like he just had his first loss almost a year ago.
See, I would argue, I don't think Joel looked good at all.
Really?
No offense, Joel, if you're listening. I thought he looked like shit, and he got sold on by some fake shit, bro.
Really?
They're goddamn striking. The Ludwig system, you ready for a rant, is the worst system. He threw 150 fucking punches and kicks, and the guy was just standing there looking at him. What? You're telling me that system? Okay, it works like this. You have tiers to sell a system. Gracie, Dwayne Ludwig, whatever your fucking system is, you're selling something. Tier 1, basic striking package. Oh, you learn how to keep your hands up in stance. Tier 2, what would it be? A little bit more complicated. You're a great sales guy, right? How would you sell tier 2? A little bit more. And then what would tier 3 be? More, exactly. And then what we saw was a tier 3 Dwayne Ludwig striker going out there, throwing way too much stuff, not getting finishes because he's throwing hundreds of punches, looking like this, switching his stances, jumping, landing when he should have almost got knocked out by that spinning elbow. Lands a spinning elbow, does a Nate Diaz, like it's cool, but doesn't get the finish, bro. That's what I'm saying. And everyone gets sold off of everything. Of course, Dwayne Lugwood did a great job with TJ Dillashaw because he didn't know how to throw a fucking punch. So they had him throwing a million punches, won a world title. Henry Cejudo figured that out, waited for him to jump into that knee. Boom. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, one of the greatest commercials ever. UFC 1. Oh, it works because we didn't bring in anyone that knew how to wrestle or anyone that actually knew how to fight. A bunch of karate nerds. And so now it's the same thing. What's Jiu-Jitsu? Oh, you're tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. That's what I'm saying. You get sold on bullshit. If you want to learn how to really fight, if you want to learn how to do anything, you go learn the fucking basics. And if you want to sell something, you put in fluff, and they call it shoe shining in boxing terms when they just move a lot and don't knock someone out. My bad, rant over.
It's okay. I'll just say, like, I'm not going to sit here and argue.
Oh, come on, argue. I like arguments. Let's get it going. Getting hot.
My credentials, like, don't
hot in here.
My credentials don't stack up to Ramsey. So I'm not going to say.
But you're definitely more advanced than me. What were you seeing that made you think he had a great?
I'm saying that, like, when Joel was rising and he won his title, it was he had this really good rise, and then he had a bad night in the office is what I felt like, and he lost his title. He was about to come back, had a setback with the knee injury, and then that kid was, regardless of how you felt like he looked or whatever, that kid was tough. He was durable. And
the kid's tough.
That kid from Canada, he came to fight, and
I know of him. He's my fellow Palestinian. Philistine, you can't get finished. That's probably why.
And Joel, Joel lost like wrestling positions when he lost his title and stuff like that. Didn't settle in positions, wrestled up, and got back to him and his coach's game plan. I was more happy for Joel as a competitor to be able to have that bounce back. Like for me, when I look at the Utah fighters and stuff, I was just happy to see like that comeback, right? Like he got a little bit of his swagger and his confidence back. Not that I'm saying he lost it, but when somebody loses for the first time, we see this all the time. There's a lot of fighters that when they lose for the first time, they just quit. Like
they never come back.
They never come back, and then a lot of them, even if they do come back, if they lose again, then they're just done forever. Right? And like Joel was in a position, not that he was done forever. Like I love Joel and I think the world of him.
I love him too. I love Joel. I think he's a great competitor. I just think he's being sold on bullshit.
I understand.
And the problem is it worked that one time, but next fight, whoever was fighting him is gonna be like, just sit in the pocket and throw big shots.
Yeah, I mean, from a coach's standpoint, like I'm not going to argue with you.
Argue with me. Come on, don't be a bitch.
I'm not going to. Well, I'm not. I don't love the bang Muay Thai system because I don't feel like it's. I feel like they try and fit everybody into every shape into a round hole because it was built on TJ Dillashaw
and it was built off of a sales.
Sure,
you sell shit, bro. You know how to sell.
Let me ask this point and then finish that point. Then I have a question.
I was going to say, but like for somebody like Joel, like who is athletic and has good dexterity, switching stances and stuff like that. Like he's somebody that I feel like can make that work for him and for whatever it is. Like I'm saying I was happy for Joel to see him come back, get a win. It was a tough fight, and that's what I think of that night when I like to see that. And now I'm looking forward to because I believe people like Kent can have that. And
I can see a comeback even if they need some more progress. Here's my question on Kent, and this
fair. I'll put my shirt back on.
Good call. Here's my question on Kent. Right, is that this was his first loss, and this is going to be a lot of your mentality here, Ramsey. Too is like, I'm very much not in the camp of, I'm the man in the arena. I'm not happy to see Kent lose, right? Kent's a cool guy. I've been around him a little bit, right? But how does he come back from his first loss? Like, where are you at mentally when you've given up your O? I mean, once your O goes, it's
can
tough.
I give a rant too with Kent on the side? Part of the reason, right before that fight went out, I said, he's been sparring too much. And Kent sparring, I see on his social media, he's sparring. Now, if you're a heavyweight, what % can you spar? What % do you think Kent can hit someone at?
20%.
If that, right? And so when you spar a lot, and this is why sparring isn't a real thing, and you don't ever see the football team, like, hey, let's beat up the scout team. You know, they're not playing the scout team. They're setting up scenarios. And that's what I do with especially heavyweights is you set up scenarios because they can't spar. They could literally kill someone. And then they learn how to fight at 20%. And I felt like when he came out, he was at that same percentage.
Yeah, your muscle memory is like, I'm used to punching in practice at this thing. So you have to overcome a boundary. It's like, it's actually funny you use it. So I played football.
Yeah.
Right? And for me, it was always tough once you got into the games to know, now I need to go try and take this guy's head off when I'm so used to not taking off the quarterback's head. Because in my brain in practice, you pull up right before you hit the quarterback because you'll get in big trouble.
And that's why the pros, they actually don't even run it hard. Like if you ever see a pro football practice, they don't even put pads on. They just touch, and they're just doing 2-hand touches. So they're learning how, and that's how training should be.
Because otherwise, you train your body to not. When you're in the real scenario, if you even pull up a little bit because your brain's conditioned to pull up a little bit, it's a big problem for it.
We had the same problem in my college wrestling at UVU. Our coach was like, he was a first-year college coach. He was trying to come in and toughen us all up. So we did hour-long grind matches all the time. So all the time we'd be doing like once a week, an hour-long wrestling match. And when you wrestle an hour, you're like, you start like go, and you start like this slow. And then we would get to the matches and we had the same intensity. And then our Uzbekistani coach is like, you guys aren't training right. And he's like, you guys need to be doing drill for nonstop and then just do sprints. He's like, you don't even need to live wrestle. He's like, you need to drill hard and hit sprints. And then literally I started following what he was saying and I started winning tournaments. And my mentality was so much different. And that's when I learned like how you train is how you fight or compete. And even if it's you can't go 100%, but he can do the plays over and over and over and over.
Scenarios, because then So did you find that when you were just fighting Zach, did it take at least a second or two to realize, I should be throwing full power right now?
No, like I've never had a problem flipping that switch though, because like he says it too. Like, you said, like we're all kind of crazy people. That's why we fight and stuff. One of the things that,
but you can spar hard though. You and Ammon can get down.
Right. Yeah, and you're right on that. But like one of the things like I talked about with Jordan is and that he kind of helped me figure out is like, he describes it as like, everybody like, because we all have our childhood traumas, we all have our whatever, our demons or whatever, and we all try to act like normal human beings. But like when we get to the gym and like somebody hits you harder, and then a little bit of that psycho comes out or whatever. And Jordan's whole thing with me was, you have this monster inside of you, and Jordan definitely had that monster inside of anybody ever watched him fight. Like
that was his biggest downfall.
I mean, yeah,
he was like a finesse fighter, and he gets touched, and he's like, let's
freak, right? Yeah. But he's like, you have this monster, and he's like, you just have to contain that guy until it's time to walk, and then when it's time to walk, like go ahead, like be a monster, like be a psycho, like it's fine,
I just have
I don't have a problem like flipping that switch. But to Ramsey's point too, like I have sparring rounds where like I will like somebody hits me a little hard, I hit them a little hard back, and then good minute and a half into our 5-minute round, we're trying to take each other's heads off. But we're not heavyweights.
But then also to me, that is diminishing returns.
Agreed.
And
it shouldn't be that way, but I am getting at least reps of really hard sparring.
Yeah, but even then you're just reiterating. And that's actually where I like tell every fighter, like if you really are as confident as you are, sparring, all it does is build confidence. All you're doing is like, I can fight with this guy, so I can fight this guy. But in reality, and even timing's different because your timing is different. You're wearing bigger gloves, so the timing and the range are actually different in small gloves and big gloves.
Absolutely.
And the speed is very different. So like realistically, if you're thinking about it, sparring is just for people's confidence, just for experience. Or I look at it, if you're a beginning amateur, it's like playing high school football. At practice, they still have to learn how to hit. Sure. So in high school football, you still hit each other in practice, right? Yeah. But once you're a pro, they're like, no, we're not wasting a fucking hit.
Valuable,
yeah, it's too valuable. And I think that's what fighting is becoming, and it needs to be like that. And I think when I was on my tears, like when I knocked out Benelli Darush and fucked up Edwards before I blew out my elbow, on Fiera even, I was fucking up Diego Fiera, who's top 10. It was, dude, Tarek would not let me spar. And I'd be like, Tarek, please, I need to spar. And he's like, of course you want to spar. He's like, you can't fucking spar. And he'd be like, he'd call 2 people in that were the equivalent to the guy I was fighting, like whether a southpaw or whatever, striker, and he'd make me just be in these fucking situations that were always losing, always out of my range, always on the bottom, and then I'd get in the fight, and I was like, I haven't sparred forever, Tark, and he's like, good, dog, go, and I'd be like, ah, and I'd just come across, and it was easier to flip the switch, comparatively when I was at the pit elevated back in the day, and I went on a losing streak, because we were fucking sparring 2 times a week, 3 times a week, hard. Tuesday was kickboxing. Thursday was another sparring session. And then Saturday was live sparring hard, like MMA. And then I got knocked out 1 fight, 1 touch after that. And I was like, how the fuck I get knocked out? And then I like thought about it and I was like, oh wait, I remember Josh Berkman rocking me, breaking my nose in that camp. And then that's when I was like, this isn't working. It's actually diminishing returns. Sure. I need to go somewhere else.
Sure. But
going back to that original question though, with Kent, right? And it's just with any fighter in general, he's just given up his O, right?
Yeah.
Which is a hard mental thing to do. How do you come into that skittish afterwards? Do you come into that overconfident that it was a fluke and then get yourself in trouble?
Here's the thing, and like I'm just out of respect to Kent and his camp, like I'm not there. Like, you know, like Ramsey knows Kent, the person and the fighter, better than I do.
I don't even know. I don't even know what's going on in his camp.
I'm just saying
from what I've seen in his Instagram posts, there was a lot of sparring rounds, and even he would say, you know, we got some hard sparring rounds in.
So but like as a promoter and stuff, I just don't want to I don't want to cross those.
And don't want to be biased.
Sure, but I mean. He just signed a contract. Him and opponent just signed a contract for April 20th at our big return to UVU at the UCCU Center, your old stomping grounds.
Yeah,
Fierce is going down there, and Kent's like some fighters want to. Some fighters want to take a break, right?
Is it safe to have all these fighters fighting on 420? Will they not be more occupied?
I mean,
just in my experience being around
I'm a promoter. Like, it just is what it is, man. But it's just
few arrests.
Ramsey can't attend.
Yeah, I can't be there.
Yeah, but
few arrests are made.
I just, buy a ticket and find out, see what he's like. I believe that Kent's the type of guy because he just was immediately like, I want to fight April. At UVU.
Does he have an opponent?
Yep, contract signed.
Cool.
I got him and his opponents both contract as I was driving to the studio today.
Hell yeah.
So it's down, and he's another large human being, an undefeated heavyweight. And now Kent gets the opportunity to go take away that guy's O.
Yeah, and I think that Kent's 2 or 3 fights away from the UFC. Maybe
he still is. That's the thing. It's not like this all is lost for Kent.
It's so much different if he was 45.
For sure.
At heavyweight, you can lose 2, win 2, and then they'll sign you.
What happens with Kent versus Eric Eyman?
Well, they're in the training room together. I don't know.
Does he handle Eyman?
Ask him.
You think so?
You should ask him.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I mean, no offense to Eyman, but I'm sure. What?
He's older, but he's a giant human.
Bro, Kent is 45. A different level of athlete. You know what I mean?
He's deceptively quick. So I say this a lot, and you saw it in the Larry Gonzalez fight. He's deceptively quick, and Kent does this thing. You know it all too well. He kind of plots forward, and he kind of dips his head right to the right, and he kind of plots forward and pause with that jab, and then when he makes his that little crow hop into that overhand or whatever, I think he hits people way faster than they realize that he can close the distance.
Yeah, and I think sparring Kent, people might feel good, oh, I could get around in with Kent, but in an actual fight and you put small gloves on that dude, he's going to sleep, man.
I believe in Kent, and I think he can bounce back to it, and I think that we'll, I think we'll see a very motivated and improved Kent. It all culminates fighters are always supposed to be on. I feel like he had a bad night in the office. I feel like Vandera was a good fight for him and a good test, but it shows too what happens if you're not on. And Kent should be fighting people. If you're really that UFC caliber trying to knock on the door, he should be fighting people that he has to bring his A game to beat. And I think he's the first one that'll
Do you
say.
think there was some ring rust in there because he missed out on his last fight because the guy got sick right before? He's been out of the ring for
since June. No, like I don't think that was ring rust.
That's not too long.
8 months. 8 months on
June.
Yeah. Even though he's pro, it's still on an AMI circuit. It's a lower circuit.
I don't think it was ring rust. I think there was, and again, he shared things with me that I don't really feel like I have permission to fully
no worries,
say.
yeah.
But I think that I just think there's circumstances, and he just learned some things about himself of, what he needs to do to make sure that he's right on that night. And I think he'll fix those things. And I think we're going to see the best version of Kent on April 20th.
Nice.
Cool. When do we? Oh, you're going to talk some business afterwards with Talon. But one thing I wanted to ask about, I'm a little biased. I'll pop into the pit once every couple months. But
he's a mythical creature there.
We got Julian on a contender series.
Yeah.
Don't you think he's a little bit further along than being on a contender series?
Well, but it's activity and it's date wise. Like he's like, I want to fight as soon as possible. And,
so let's say Chris Curtis comes back here and says, "Hey, I'd like to jump on a fierce card."
So
Are we putting him on a contender series?
Hey, you better be careful. This is Julian's new boss, bro. He's gonna be fighting for him.
Julian's working at my company.
Oh, enjoy that.
He has been having some attendance issues.
Can't imagine why. Here's the thing, and this is the reality of it. That card was done and it was full, and I told Julian, I said, I don't have room for you on that card. But budget wise, like at the end of the day, Fierce is a business.
Yeah.
I don't really enjoy working for free. When our shows don't make money, I don't get a paycheck. And that's not very fun to put in the type of hours that I do to put on these shows. And so when I say I don't really have the budget to put another pro fight and a pro like Julian on the card, because one, he's a very good fighter, and Julian is one that he tries to business-wise to fight for every dollar that he's worth, and he has a coach that we've had those conversations where Julian, you pay him and he puts on a good show, and he does put on a good show.
Hey, Dana had to deal with me too, man. Yeah. I would fucking right at
we all saw it on The Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, he's like, how about more?
We're always just pushing Zach.
We saw it, but at the end of the day, it's like budgets are budgets, and it's like I'm not gonna put on a fight that I know I'm gonna lose money on. Like if I know I'm gonna lose money on it, I won't put it on. Because regardless of how good the fight is, and here's the other thing, and I had to explain this to Julian. Julian's a very good fighter. He's a dangerous fight. So guess what? The person I'm bringing in for him, they want to be paid a premium.
Right.
They know they're being brought in to fight one of the top guys in Utah.
One of the top guys in the country, dude. I mean, yeah. And most people say no.
For sure.
Yeah.
And so, we have a kid that's game, but he's like, yeah, I'll come fight him, but like, I'm not doing it for cheap. So cool. So there's
I'm not going to name names, but he was just traveling around, Julian. And he put some beatings on some, big name guys.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
Julian could fight. Like, what do we always say?
Yeah.
Whatever about Julian, you could say whatever you want.
He drives me crazy too, but
kid can fight.
Kid can fight.
He for sure can.
So once he's done fighting, he's going to be thrown to the wolves. Everyone's like, I'm done with you, bitch.
So, but, it just kind of is what it is. Like, we've never had 3 pro fights on a Challenger series before. It was always 2 is the max, because budget-wise, that's kind of where we were comfortable in a smaller venue. Unfortunately, Ryder Campo just got announced he had to pull out, so we are down to 2. But like Julian,
thank God you listened to us.
We wanted to.
Right?
No.
You're welcome.
Is Ryder Campo that kid that came out of the bayou? Who's that kid out of the bayou with the long hair?
What are you talking?
Cross Hughes. I like Tom. I like Cross Hughes.
But
he's fun to watch. Yeah, he's a dog, man.
But anyways, so yeah, Julian. So it's just like he wanted to fight. I told him I can get you on April, and he goes, that's too long. It's too far. I want to fight in March. And so with his coach, we kind of set up a plan, and like the goal is to try and push him as fast and as hard as we can, and hopefully we have some really exciting things to announce. If he does his job. On March 23rd at Bonneville High School at that Challenger Series, he's going to have a nice big stage with a nice big opportunity and a vet in the featherweight division to have a giant fight for at the Maverick Center on May 31st.
What are they fighting at?
145 pounds.
145. So let's do it like Russia. I'll get in there and fight both of them.
They'll fuck you up.
290 means that they only got 30 pounds on.
Yeah, that's and I'm gonna come back before we end, I gotta conclude my rant earlier. And it's kind of funny about the whole don't fall for the tiers being sold to you and jiu-jitsu or anything like that. I told this whole thing to my gym the other day, and I was like, oh, maybe everyone got it. Like they realize don't fall for bullshit and don't give your money to fake stuff. And the next day I hear them all talking. They're like, yeah, how much is $60, $70? Oh yeah, okay, we're going. I'm like, where are you guys going for $70? Jordan Peterson. And I was like, what?
Okay, but Jordan Peterson's actually legit. I'm not gonna let you.
Oh my God!
I'm not gonna let you crap on my man
I'm gonna
Jordan
go
Peterson.
learn how to be a man.
Yeah,
I was like, you're gonna sit in a chair in this old fucking dork.
I'm not gonna let you trash Jordan
old
Peterson.
failed therapist is gonna
right
tell you
now.
how to be a fucking man. You've missed it. And I was like, take that $70, go buy an 8-ball of Coke, and go to a strip club and live fucking life.
Okay.
Quit paying money.
Don't follow that advice. We were always a great pleasure to have Zack Partridge.
Don't pay any money. It's all shit, bro. Just now you become a man sitting down listening to someone.
Okay, don't listen to Ramsey. He is wrong on this
The
one.
only real man in this fucking room.
Tell us again, Zach, where we can find Fierce Cards, where we can find you.
FierceFightingChampionship.com. All your tickets for Fierce will always be on there. FierceFightingChampionship.com. You can follow us at Fierce Fighting Championship. You can follow me at Ridge79 on Instagram. But most of my stuff is just Fierce, and that's what I'm focused on right now. It's just Fierce Fighting Championship.
One thing on here on the sign off here is I'll tell you that the views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not represent my views. Okay, thank you for signing in. Thank you.
Enter to win $1,000 of Kyle's money. If you talk on our page, Kyle will send you $1,000.
If you jump Ramsey in the streets, you will get $1,000. Okay, thank you so much.
Right now.
Thanks for tuning into The Coach and the Casual. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and share it with your friends. Thanks again.